It was a cold night in Northern California, around 11:15 p.m. on December 20th of 1968. Two high school students, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, were out on a date when they were shot by a mysterious man with a .22 semi-automatic pistol. David Faraday was shot once in the head, and Betty Lou Jensen was shot 5 times in the back. These were the first victims of one of the most dangerous and elusive serial killers known to man, the Zodiac. He is one of the most famous and well-known serial killers, even though he was never caught. He had one of the longest-running killing sprees in serial killer history. He was very famous for playing a sick cat-and-mouse game with the police by sending letters and postcards to the press. Many consider him to be one of the most intelligent serial killers, which many also consider to be the reason he was never caught by the police. His first killings were not initially considered to be his, until he sent a letter to the press stating details about the crime that nobody else but the police and the killer could have known. This was one of the first instances in recorded history of a killer sending letters to the press. There were a total of 18 recorded letters and documents sent from the Zodiac to the press, police, and private citizens. He was known for sending codes as well, his most famous being the 340-character cipher. He has even sent a letter with a 13-character cipher that supposedly contained his name. But, to this day, nobody has solved any of his codes for sure. He seemed to elude the police every time. However, one of his ciphers was supposedly cracked by a couple in California. It reads, "I like killing because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous game of all to kill. Something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for afterlife." His next victims were another pair, Darlene Ferrin and Mike Mageau. The time of the attack was 12:10 a.m. on July 5th, 1969. Darlene Ferrin was shot 5 times and died quickly. However, Mike Mageau was shot 4 times and survived the attack. About 45 minutes after the police arrived at the crime scene, they got a call from an unidentified person, taking responsibility for the murders. He also claimed to have killed Faraday and Jensen the previous year. He stated some details about the Ferrin-Mageau attack that only he and the police could have known. He identified the weapon as a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. Later on, Mageau identified the attacker as a white male in his 20s or 30s, about 5'9" or 5'10", with a stocky build, round face, and reddish-brown hair, and a crew cut. This was the first description of a Zodiac by a victim. His next victims were another young couple. Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell were stabbed at 6:15 p.m. of September 17th of 1969. Shepard was stabbed 10 times and died, 5 times in the front and 5 times in the back. Hartnell was stabbed 6 times in the back. Hartnell did survive the attack and told the police about details of the crime. He said that the attacker had come up to the couple while they were having a picnic at Lake Beressa. The man was dressed in an executioner-style mask and was holding a gun. He claimed to have been a prison escapee and needed a car and money to drive to Mexico. Hartnell offered his wallet and car keys, but the attacker did not take them. He proceeded to tie up the couple and pull out a knife, then stab them. Hartnell described the man to be about 6 feet tall and of a heavy build, but Hartnell was not able to see his face because of the mask that the Zodiac was wearing. The Zodiac left a note carved into Hartnell's car with the names of the last 2 murders, along with the words "by knife" next to the Shepard-Hartnell attack. It was signed with a signature circle and cross symbol. Zodiac only had 7 confirmed victims, but he claimed in one of his letters that he had killed a total of 37 people. At this point in his murders, it was assumed by the police that the Zodiac liked to target young couples in secluded areas outside of cities. But his next victim was an outlier in this pattern. His next victim was Paul Stine, who was a cab driver in San Francisco. He was killed on October 11th of 1969 at about 9:55 p.m. The Zodiac got into the taxi cab and requested to go to Washington and Maple Streets, but for unknown reasons ended up at Washington and Cherry Streets. The Zodiac shot Stine once in the head at point-blank range with a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, but this was a different one from the Farron Mageau attack. Stine's wallet and a big portion of his shirt were taken, which would later be sent to the press to prove that the Zodiac had in fact killed him. There were 2 witnesses who described the attacker as a white male about 25 to 30 years old, 5'8" or 5'9", with a stocky build, reddish-brown hair in a crew cut, and heavy-rimmed glasses. The police were then called, but there was a mistake or miscommunication, and the police were instead looking for an African-American male. The police did in fact pass a white male, matching the description provided by the 2 witnesses. He was seen walking into a park, but was ignored because the cops were looking for an African-American man. The Zodiac later sent a letter to the press saying that he was very close to getting caught, but didn't because of the police's little goof. These were the end of his confirmed killings, but he did claim that he had killed 30 more people, with a total of 37 kills overall. However, the Zodiac did send a letter to the press with plans and blueprints for a bomb that he was going to blow up a bus with, but he never did go through with it. He also claimed that one day he would target a school bus full of children. His note said that he would shoot out one of the front tires, then pick off the children one by one as they came out of the bus. He also never did go through with this crime either. There are many theories about who the Zodiac may be. The 4 most common are Earl Van Best Jr., Arthur Lee Allen, Lawrence Kane, and Ted Cruz. First suspect, Earl Van Best Jr., does somewhat match the police sketch, but not the heavy build that most of the victims and witnesses describe. His son, Gary Stewart, was convinced that his father was the killer, and even wrote a book called The Most Dangerous Animal of All on why he was. The number of letters in his name matches the number of letters in his 13-character cipher. His son had a handwriting sample sent in to an expert, and the expert claimed that his handwriting was practically the same as the letters from the Zodiac. But the handwriting sample was actually from a marriage certificate and was written by a priest from St. Paul's Methodist Church in Reno, Nevada. The next suspect has some of the most compelling evidence against him. Arthur Lee Allen fit the description of the heavy-set and stocky build. His friend, Don Chaney, also claimed that he had called himself the Zodiac before the Zodiac killer referred to himself publicly as the Zodiac. Chaney also mentioned that he had said that he would like to kill couples, which were the Zodiac's main targets, and that he would like to hunt people with a gun and a flashlight. In an interview with the police, he said that his favorite book was The Most Dangerous Game, which is a short story about a man who hunts people. The Zodiac had mentioned The Most Dangerous Game in one of his letters, and also said in his cipher that man is the most dangerous animal of all to kill. His family also claims that the night of the Shepherd Hartnell attack, he came home from the very same lake the attack was at, all bloody and with a bloody knife in his car. Some slightly coincidental evidence would be that he wore a brand of watch called the Zodiac, which had the exact same circle and cross symbol that the Zodiac liked to use to sign his letters. In 1974, Arthur Lee Allen went to jail for child molestation and was there for 3 years. During this period of time, there were no letters from the Zodiac. While he was in jail, one of the other inmates told the police that Arthur Lee Allen had confessed to the murder of Paul Stine. When the police searched his home, they found bloody knives, dissected animals in the freezer, tapes about the Zodiac killer, plans for bombs, and bombs that had already been made. And perhaps the strongest evidence that he was in fact the Zodiac was in a lineup of suspects Mike Mageau, one of the victims, picked out Arthur Lee Allen as the killer. However, his handwriting did not match the Zodiac's and doesn't really match the police sketch or crew-cut hair description. The next suspect, Lawrence Kane, was in a car accident in 1962 that caused major brain damage. Doctors said that he would never be himself again and that the injuries may have caused a personality change. This would account for why he had the mindset of a serial killer. One of the two officers who passed the Zodiac said that in all of his years that people had showed him photos asking if the man in the photo was the Zodiac, the closest he had ever seen was the picture of Lawrence Kane. He matches the big-faced, heavy-set look most of the witnesses and victims describe. Also, one of the Zodiac's victims, Darlene Ferrin, had a sister. Her sister claimed Lawrence Kane was the one who was harassing and following Darlene Ferrin during the time leading up to the murder. One of the suspected victims of the Zodiac was a woman and her baby who got into a car with the Zodiac, who was unmasked for a prolonged period of time. She picked out Lawrence Kane in a lineup of suspects. Additionally, Kane lived about 6 minutes away from where Paul Stine picked up the Zodiac in the taxi. Kane also lived in South Lake Tahoe, where one possible Zodiac victim had lived and worked at the same place that he did. However, Lawrence Kane's handwriting sample wasn't a match to the Zodiac's. In the end, although there were many pieces of evidence suggesting several people, the case of the Zodiac will remain a mystery.